Hello everyone, and welcome to my Duel Today official news channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Tate snaps at his parents when Jada and Steve discover Everett's true identity. Teresa holds on to a gloomy Tate in a common room until he manages to get free. Tate loses it when Teresa brings up his letter to Brady. Since his letter was confidential, he doesn't want them to discuss him. Brady acknowledges his son's emotions and explains that although he hasn't always been there, he is now. Stephanie walks into the pub and doesn't answer Everett's call. "Stop calling me," she murmurs to herself. Steve, who performed some research following their conversation last night, sits with her. Everett's accident tale is consistent with what a John Doe experienced, according to an old co-worker of his from the Seattle Police Department. But he shows her a copy of a driver's license from Washington that has Everett's picture on it along with Robert Stein's Seattle address. Is there a twin for him? Stephanie wonders. Steve made a check. His birth certificate contains no mention of that. I see. Everett is Bobby, moans Stephanie. Steve affirms that this guy is more complex than he appears. The timeline shows that he was dating Stephanie when he was married to Jada, though they can't be certain if he's lying or has neurological impairment. Stephanie walks away in tears as she tries to take it all in. Everett begs Stephanie to believe him in a voicemail he leaves from his room at the Salem Inn. He yells in frustration as he hangs up, asking why the police officer thinks he's Bobby Watch's face. And why am I unable to recall what was happening just before the accident? Jada approaches with a box. She frowns and says, "We got a lot to talk about, Bobby." She unearths a photo from their wedding day and their marriage license. None of it is remembered by Everett. Jada extends a small device and requests his fingerprints. Telling Rafe that Tripp and Wendy are disappeared, Ava dashes inside the Salem Police Department. She's sure Clyde has them, and she's urging him to track them down. What's the connection to Clyde? Rafe wonders. Ava says she struck a deal with Harris to bring Clyde down, but she doesn't mention that she works for him. Although she has been listening closely for information, it has backfired. Ava yells that Clyde is untouchable, but Rafe requires concrete information. Wendy is curled up on the floor of a cylindrical metal container that has been discolored with water in a warehouse next to Tripp. Officer Goldman takes them to a storage room for safety in a flashback, citing Rafe's orders. As she questions the safe house, Wendy pulls out her phone and gives Rafe a call. Demanding their phones, Goldman pulls her revolver. She gives them the command to enter the tank and locks it. Tate makes fun of Brady for being there for him in the halfway home, where both of his parents belong but he doesn't. They are the reason he is being punished. Guilt by implication. Tate is there because he was found in possession of medications, Teresa reminds him. Tate wants Hollywood awaken and come clean with everyone. Brady claims to have been texting Nicole while she is in Italy. Holly is improving and can now breathe for herself. She might return home at any moment. Jada's gadget at the Salem Inn shows that Everett is actually Bobby. Everett, perplexed, says that's not correct. He's what he has always been, Jada assured him, a slimy, two-faced bastard. Everett can't recall her. Indeed, she does remember him, and getting a divorce was the best decision she has ever made. For once in his life, she begs him to take responsibility for what he did. Goldman enters the water tank at the warehouse and points her gun. She scoffs when Tripp tells her they can have her money. She locks them back in after throwing a sack and advising them to limit their supplies. Brady and Teresa attempt to lower Tate's expectations at the halfway house. They need to be ready for the chance that Holly won't recall it all or won't be brave enough to speak the truth. Tate, frustrated, says again that he done nothing improper. All he wants to do is get home. As Stephanie enters Everett's room, he yells that he can't recall. Jada informs Stephanie the fingerprints match after displaying the picture to her. Stephanie expresses regret. She was ignorant. Jada tells her buddy to get away from Everett. She stalks out, threatening to keep searching until she learns the whole truth. Ava phones Steve to let him know about Tripp after he calls for assistance with Everett. Rafe brings Goldman into the station to issue a bolo on Tripp and Wendy and to file a missing persons report. Steve comes over and tells Ava to start conversing in private. In an effort to keep Tripp safe, Ava tells Steve everything about smuggling drugs for Clyde. She begs him to assist her in rescuing their son. Steve firmly says that he will track down Tripp and Wendy, after which she will reveal all. You got it? Wendy and Tripp figure out in the water tank that Goldman is employed by Clyde, which is why Ava wanted them to leave Salem. Tripp notices a hatch on the ceiling as they search for a route out, but it remains in place. They wonder if they are close to the airport as they retrace their route there. Tripp identifies vents that let in fresh air. Wendy observes that they will die if they close them. Tripp speculates that they would be dead if they so desired. Wendy is concerned that their value may fade quickly. They both acknowledge that they must find a way out. Stephanie lashes out at the Salem Inn, calling their relationship a fake. Even though he can't recall it now, Everett still had a relationship with her while he was married to Jada prior to the disaster. So, are you some sort of sociopath or just a lying dirtbag? Everett, in distress, maintains that he is neither of those things. He remains the same man who aspired to be with her for eternity. His words become halting and slurred. Scratching his face, he passes out. Everett is wobbly, so Stephanie helps him up and insists on driving him to the hospital. Jada tells Rafe she's confirmed Everett is Bobby as she dashes into the station. She shakily asserts that she must continue working and that she is okay. Rafe needs to tell her about Tripp and Wendy going missing before he can tell her everything. Teresa notes that Tate is in a secure environment at the halfway home where he may develop his strength and learn about addiction. Tate becomes tough. He doesn't use drugs, nor is he an addict. They can't put that guilt trip on him just because they damaged their life with them. He's ready for them to go. He spits, "I hate you both," and storms off. Watch Days of Our Lives and get ready for some intense drama. Recently, the renowned Horton house met a flaming end. Everyone is now worried about what will happen to their favorite characters after this. Julie, played by Susan Seaforth Hayes, expresses her sentiments over the disturbing plot. She also makes vague allusions to future turns and twists. Settle down for an intense ride as we explore the aftermath of the Horton house fire, a time when feelings are running hot, people expose secrets, and family ties are tested. Don't pass on the action. Susan Seaforth Hayes felt a surge of melancholy when she first learned that the Horton house was on fire. She was troubled by the thought of losing the show's anchor. She and Days of Our Lives viewers were left wondering how the Horton family will be affected. She does, however, disclose that earlier authors had contemplated doing away with the famous set. Former authors considered getting rid of it years ago, but cooler heads won out. The favorable tidings? The fans are spared from total anguish by the certainty that the house will be rebuilt. Susan, in the meantime, gives us a behind-the-scenes look at the fire scene filming, revealing the thrill and anxiety that went along with it. The actor, who plays a major role in the intense drama, talks about the exciting experience of filming in front of lights, cameras, and fire pots. Suspense is also added to the plot by the difficulties in coordinating screaming and the planning required to run up and down the Horton staircase. It demonstrates the commitment and imagination of the Days of Our Lives production crew.